I've been exploring the wireless world of Sprint, and I've learned Sprint is building America's mobile 5G network.
Sprint is terrible.
Since 1965, the number of black elected officials has exploded. Between 1970 and 2012, it grew from fewer than 1,500 to more than 10,000. And oh yes, a black man was elected president, twice. Conventional wisdom would suggest that all these political gains would lead to economic gains, but that has not proven to be the case. In fact, during an era of growing black political influence, blacks as a group progressed at a slower rate than whites, and the black poor actually lost ground. Why was the conventional wisdom wrong? Because it was based on the incorrect assumption that politics was the pathway to black progress. Only black politicians, so the thinking went, could properly understand and address the challenges facing black Americans. It wasn't stable families, hard work, or education that would lift blacks into the middle class. It was more black city councilmen, congressmen, and senators. But the evidence, even according to liberal social scientists like Gary Orfield, indicates that there may be little relationship between the success of black leaders and the opportunities of typical black families. So while black politicians from Tom Bradley and Marion Barry to Maxine Waters and John Conyers achieved considerable personal success, their constituents did not. Yet this calculus, political success as a prerequisite to a better life, remains progressive orthodoxy today. When Michael Brown was shot dead after assaulting a police officer in Ferguson, Missouri in 2014, much was made of the racial composition of the police department and city leaders.
They ain't never just said
But if
that.
black representation among law enforcement and city officials is so critically important, how do you explain the rioting in Baltimore the following year, after a black suspect there died in police custody? At the time, 40% of Baltimore's police officers were black. The Baltimore Police Commissioner was also black, along with the mayor and a majority of the city council. What can be said of Baltimore is also true of Cleveland, Detroit, Philadelphia, Atlanta, New Orleans, and Washington, D.C., where black mayors and police chiefs and city councilmen and school superintendents have been in office for decades. But to what end? As I document in my book, False Black Power, when blacks had little political power, they nevertheless made significant economic progress.
He a joke.
In the 1940s and 50s, black labor participation rates exceeded those of whites. Black incomes grew much faster than white incomes, and the black poverty rate fell by 40 percentage points. Between 1940 and 1970, that is, during the Jim Crow era, with its racist laws, and before any affirmative action, the number of blacks in middle-class professions quadrupled. In other words, racial gaps were steadily narrowing without any special treatment for blacks. And then came the war on poverty in the mid-60s. This was supposed to close the gap once and for all. Yet despite billions of dollars of government assistance in the form of welfare payments, housing projects, and enforced hiring programs like affirmative action, black poverty rates remained unchanged relative to white poverty rates. In fact, a strong case can be made that to the extent that a social program, however well-meaning, interferes with the group's self-development, it does more harm than good. Government policies that discourage marriage and undermine the work ethic, open-ended welfare benefits, for example, help keep poor people poor. No wonder then that more black politicians bringing home more government aid has done so little to improve rates of black employment, home ownership, and academic achievement. As economist Thomas Sowell explains, the relationship between political success and economic success has been more nearly inverse than direct. The history of Germans, Jews, and Italians in America supports Sowell's observation. Each of these groups made significant economic gains before ever attaining significant political power. Asians are the most recent example. How many prominent Asian politicians can you name? On the other hand, the Irish, whose rise from poverty in the 19th century was especially slow, were very politically successful. Irish-run political organizations in places like Boston and Philadelphia dominated local government. In the U.S., the Irish had more political success than any other minority group. Yet the Irish were, according to Seoul, the slowest rising of all European immigrants to America. The black experience in America is of course different from the experience of the Irish, or any other ethnic minority. But that doesn't undermine the obvious conclusion. Human capital is far more important than political capital. And the formula for prosperity is the same across the human spectrum. Traditional values such as marriage, stable families, education, and hard work are immeasurably more important than the color of your congressman, or senator, or police chief, or president. I'm Jason Riley of the Manhattan Institute.
It looked like he's reading off something else.
He probably reading off a prompt, but this his opinion though, because it came out of his own book.
Free.
Let's see. Let's wait, let's focus instead of.
Who found this?
I found it, but it's not because I agree with it, obviously.
Oh.
You guys know from the
Yeah, but let's have time out a minute. Y'all remember when I started this class? What did I say?
Opinion's gonna be different.
Yeah, and I'm saying, hear what he's saying, and have a focused argument, not a reactionary argument. Does he have are there any valid points? And again, and let's keep it respectful. We don't call people names and things of that nature. When you go to a conference, you're gonna hear people that's gonna say things like this, and you can't be, making all these kind of faces, and I'm sure you know how to do that, but we wanna do it in the classroom also. So let's keep the decorum correct, please. Thank you. Yes.
The only thing that I could kind of see where he was coming from is about the welfare, how he said if you keep on getting assistance, it kind of just keeps you, like, I wouldn't say poor, but content. So I can kind of see where he's coming from that. But that's
And then in addition, it kind of relates to what we said last time, that just because we have a black leader doesn't mean they know how to lead the black community. He touches on that. You can see where he's coming from additionally on that.
I was just gonna say the same thing, like you just said. The only thing I really could agree with was the last thing he said about, race doesn't define who should be a leader. But other than that, like, I get the point, but I guess his evidence didn't help to support.
So that's what I want you to do, debunk his evidence, but first tell me what he said and why you see it as not being valid or incomplete or whatever. Is he making assumptions, those kinds of things? Okay.
I was just gonna say, listening to him when he started out, and he was saying black leaders like such as Maxine Waters and the other congressmen, they're politically, they have risen to the top and they have gotten that success, yet their constituents are still seeing levels of poverty. I think that, yeah, it's true, but it also has to deal with your local government as well. He's not touching on the local government. He's just touching on that top 1% or that top 10% and not actually going down and seeing what the actual poverty level is. And he hasn't given any background on the percentage of black and white inside of the neighborhood or Asians inside of the neighborhood. So I think that in order for him to have that pragmatic attitude, he needs to actually do the research at the lower level.
And also, but also there's a lot of statistics and pretty much sound that when we've had black mayors, the poverty level in the cities didn't move. But coming down to the local level, somewhere you have had your black mayors, it did not move tremendously. I mean, there's some other things can be argued, so that's what I'm just pulling out that point. Because if you said that at somewhere, that's what somebody would say. What about when we had these people in Gary, Indiana, when you had the black mayor, he mentioned Cleveland and all these places. So what's going on here?
Well, in those areas, especially like Cleveland and Midwest, the Midwest in and of itself, industry got taken away. Plants, factories, no more factories. And when he was speaking on between the 1940s and the 1960s and 70s and 80s, you had factory work which allowed African Americans to get middle class jobs. Although they still were not making what their white counterparts were making, it took them from one tax bracket to the next. So of course you're going to see within that time frame an increase in black poverty or, yeah, in black poverty.
And we call that phenomenon the Holocaust, which some people say, I don't know which side of the argument would be on, but by the time we did begin to get these black mayors, by the time they assumed power in these areres,
Right.
everything
It was
was leaving.
gone.
So again, your black leaders didn't have the power. It's pointing to a larger issue, that's what I'm trying to get at. That I'm not gonna tell you what that is, I want y'all to figure it out, but he may be overlooking, may not, may be assuming some things. Right here, right here, the Savage and then Mr. And over here.
One thing that I noticed was that he basically said that the solution or the alternative for the political power would be to instead have, like he said, marriage, strong families, education, and hard work. And so for me, it's like 3 of those things are automatically out in some ways for black people. So like if black men are getting killed and put in prison at the rate that they are, that kind of takes the opportunity for people to have strong marriages and families away. Because like I read a statistic, 1 in 3 black men are going to be in prison at some point, or arrested or whatever at some point in their life. And then second, if the school system is being funded by the amount of like the tax income or whatever, and it's in an impoverished place, the school isn't going to have the resources for the students to be able to have high educational achievement anyway. So I think that he kind of needs to rethink his 4 solutions, because a lot of those aren't even really valid for black people.
You're gonna hear a lot of that. I'm not gonna give Courtney West's turn, but all people on the same page as to the breakdown in the community. Now, why is that breakdown? But there has been a breakdown. We don't have to get into the marriage part or whatever. But the point being, the impersonal, whatever. There's not that community. There's not that family structure. So there's been a breakdown. Even if you didn't have a father, somebody in the neighborhood, or a mother for that matter, somebody in the neighborhood would be that, play that role for you. So, you kind of got these individual people dangling now. So there has been, and I'm not saying that's probably a piece of the solution, but it may be oversimplified, is what I think I hear you saying. He's overlooking some factors. Okay, what else?
The most interesting part that I kind of not agree with, but well, really I don't actually know, because I don't know if it's true or not. When he said that about the Jim Crow era and the 4 times % of the black success and the employment rates. So was that true, or? But I thought that employment rates went down, so I don't really know if that's true. So he said that the black people was more successful, and it wasn't a lot. We didn't have the right, so that's kind of weird, kind of interesting. If you put it in terms a way that way he thinking about it. Yeah.
Some people said, what were black people doing before the age of welfare, what have you, that they were doing better.
And successfully, that's what he's saying.
What is he basing it on?
I think he's basing it on black businesses that came up in black communities. When you look at the Jim Crow era, because black people knew that they could not go to the white man's grocery store, they built grocery stores within their community. There was, even here in Nashville, if you just look at during that time, Jefferson Street, even like Otay's, that little area right there, that's a black family. Sweats, that's a black family.
Yeah, I know the OT's little switch.
Yeah, they started those businesses because they couldn't, there was no place for black people to go. There was Brown's Hotel, which was right here on Jefferson Street, where famous black people like, Lady Day would come. They couldn't go downtown and stay in hotels. They couldn't play at those hotels and those
They couldn't
venues.
stay there.
But they couldn't stay there, so they stayed here. So when he says that black people with the limited resources were able to be more successful, is because black people kept the black money in the black neighborhoods and they were doing better. You had farmers, because here, like in a lot of places in the South, there was land. There was no building. So you had people that were agriculturally sound.
So what's the issue now? We don't have limited resources.
The issue now is that, I think, in my opinion, we've gotten away from the community aspect of living in the community, in the black community. Because now it's like, okay, I can go where I want to go. I have the rights to sit.
And that's what we said the other day, black
Yeah.
people think integration hurt.
Yeah.
And again, people not saying going back to the day of separate and equal, but it did, and I brought in that mentality factor. when people were allowed, black people were allowed to go across the way, to the white community, I'm not sure if they thought, well, I am sure some of them thought, many of them probably thought that this was better. So they totally dished, if you will, their own communities because, hey, this over here is better. And so what happened, I often hear, and every city has a Jefferson Street. Where I come from was called Farish Street. I grew up, you had your black funeral home, you had your black churches in the community, you had your floral shop, you had your grocery store, you had your, whatever it is that you, whatever. Your theater, they made a landmark out of the theater known as the Alamo Theater, but it was a black theater, back in the day. It was on Farish Street, but everybody has a Farish or a Jefferson Street in the black community. But once integration hit, the black people exited, and other folks certainly not coming down, to the black community. Now, they may come down to eat or whatever, because they like the soul food or whatever, but not in large measure. And so what happened to these businesses? They had to close the door. And then we, the people, the consumers, the black consumers, we begin to complain and compare, and again, thinking that that is better. Even till today, we couldn't pay some of you to go across the street to Meharry. I've heard you all talk, right? Yes, and I've heard
Wow.
you talk through the years. Go ahead.
He had made a point in saying that the Irish were the slowest, European group to flourish in the United States.
They were killers.
I don't
They were the
necessarily agree with
mob.
him with that, because when you have the factory, going back to the factory work, because that's where it all began. When the Great Migration happened and black people were coming from the south into the north, you had most in the Boston area, Chicago, Ohio, and all those places, the Irish can fit in with the white men, although they were still, if you weren't American born white, you were still a step below, but you were still higher than a black man. So a black man coming with a college education still would not be able to be the foreman because he was black. So yes, they had better opportunities. And in a lot of instances, like I mentioned the mob, because during that era, the mob era was the Italians, the Irish, the Russians. The governments were ran by that. Look at Chicago. Chicago was ran by the mob for decades.
And very much things with machine politics.
Right.
And that's the
Stop
point,
playing
that's
with
why you got
us.
machine politics going, and that's why you cannot compare. He made a little cursory statement out there, but you can't compare other ethnic groups to blacks, because when they came in numbers, and so that was a political thing for these politicians. They saw these Irish, they saw these Italians, and so they would go to the leaders of the community and say, if you can get all your folk to vote for me, then I promise you, you can get things. That's how they got contracts, they got businesses, and those things, that's why you see these pizzerias and all these things up north that have been passed down. So once you get that economic standing, which they have been able to do, and it has gone down through the generations, which blacks didn't have their chance. So it's not a fair comparison.
No,
There's
it's
a
not.
flaw in his process.
So did he make this, or?
I think he was reading from out of his book.
I honestly believe that he believes what he's saying.
I understand. I don't think that, I believe but I don't fully agree with him, but I kind of understand some of the points that he was trying to make, but, yeah.
I think he was reading.
Some of them was in my first class, is somebody here from one?
Yeah, he was reaching with the black man that killed the police.
Statistics speak, and that's what we were saying, statistics speak, but again, you see, it doesn't address all of the questions. So that's why we have to be careful about being quote unquote scientific. We want to be scientific, I'm not knocking that, but I'm saying it's not a solve all. If you want to get to real knowledge, you just can't look at numbers, because statistically, he was sound, but again, it begs for a larger question that statistics are not going to pull to the forefront, such as what we're discussing here.
One point that you made about how in recent years welfare and government assistance is another reason why the black community is not as successful as it was back in the 60s and 70s.
He wrote a book, it's called Please Stop Helping Us, How Liberals Make It Harder for Blacks to Succeed.
And the thing is that,
And he did to solo, which is one of the most.
He is serious too. He got millions of views.
right, the thing is though, it's kind of like, and I've always had this issue like with conservative candidates for different elections and things, because they'll make this point about how, you know, the impoverished community, aka the black community, because they always say that it connects to black people, are always depending on government assistance and all this and all that. But we didn't ask for government assistance. You guys gave us government assistance, and it's kind of like that was a good point he made, but he also didn't mention the fact that, you know, it was there for us, and now that it's been there for us for so many years, and, you know, kind of, I guess, not, it has not cushioned us, but it's kind of in a way, it's kind of been in support to our community for so many years. So he didn't really like address the fact that the government gave it to us, so it's their fault,
But when
not
the
our
government
fault.
gave it, supposedly it was to be transitory, it wasn't to be permanent, is the other side of that issue. So it was supposed to be, even like with affirmative action, all these things have timelines on them, but the way they operate. So what you have generations of African Americans and on welfare. We get the argument that there are more whites, but you're looking at the numbers of whites, so certainly there are gonna be more whites. But when you look at it proportionally, there are more blacks on welfare than other groups. Why is that? You wanna talk about that?
Because it's generational. People in their 30s need to get off welfare.
Left out the point of as far as looking
For
at
real, so we can get a
who's
turn.
now. I feel like it was, I feel like that's
So we
part
can get a
that we
turn.
left out as well. And also, if that
I
was
said,
the
if
case,
older people get off welfare, we can get a turn.
issue, then why don't we look into, I remember in our other classes, I forgot which class it was, but I remember looking at it as far as like, not like a backup plan, but in a sense, why is the study looked as that as such with the African American population, whereas with other races, it's not considered a backup plan. It's considered.
Well, yeah, that's another question, because we get
Right.
carried away with the face of welfare. But welfare goes up as well as down. And the welfare up, the statistics, the numbers are much, much greater. Welfare is not just about, and the face of welfare, you know, it is a black woman with about 10 kids, and I'm exaggerating.
Come on now.
But it has a black face, it has a face, and that's where
Yeah, it
everybody
is.
sees welfare. But it's just simply government assistance, and government gives assistance to the rich.
Yeah.
And the figures statistically can be proven again, that the figures are much greater. And somebody said it wasn't intended that way, but we could also ask the question, maybe it was intended that way.
I think so, because
I think so
in
too.
the beginning of welfare, it wasn't until recently, I think within the last 10 years, that the rules of welfare has changed. There
It
was a
started
time,
with the good old, and this is the point too, with the Clinton administration, he's the one that did the welfare reform. And so my point is, this is how we have to think, if black people claim Clinton was the first black president, I've never quite understood that.
because he got saxophone.
Yeah, that's what I said. When you look at
No, they
his
didn't.
record, the things that black people perceive to
Right.
be, what, I'm not saying whether it is or it isn't, what
Right.
they perceive to be beneficial, he voted against it. So
Right.
how is he?
Right.
For the people.
Right, it wasn't until after his administration, but I said that to say, prior to that, the amount of children you had like the amount of money you get every month was dependent upon the amount of children that you had. So the more children you had, the more money you had. In the black community, they were already taking away black men with petty crimes and things like that. And then also, one of the rules with welfare was that you could not have a significant other. You couldn't be married and be on welfare. You couldn't have a
And they
man
would
living with
send
you.
people to
And
your
they would send
house.
people to
Right.
your house.
If there was even a man in there, they would like take away your.
They'll take away your, if you
Your
had
food
nice
stamps.
things in your house, if you had good dishes, if you had a TV in every room, if you had a radio, you know, the welfare lady would come and cite you and they would take your welfare away from you, plus take those things away.
But do you
from
see how ironic that was? Because if a woman is constantly having babies,
Right.
okay, there's a man somewhere around and normally.
Exactly, exactly, and it wasn't, it gave the men, and this may be the.
That's true. I never thought about it like that.
But it gave men a way out. I can have this baby with you, you don't need me to take care of your child. You got the welfare.
The
to take
welfare
care of it.
people.
And
Yeah.
you, like there was a lady who,
That's
about
crazy.
5 years ago was on the news saying, I got these 10 kids and now they're gonna take my welfare away from me, cause now they can only claim 3. If you have more than 3 children, you have to take care of the rest of your kids. So she was like, The government is supposed to take care of me. All of y'all taxpayers are supposed to be paying me to take care of my children because that's what welfare told me. So they're putting it in the mind, it's like you get put on welfare and then they make it hard for you to get off of welfare. Because you can't have a job while you're on welfare.
Right, you can't take
Some
care
people
of
know how
them.
to work the system, but that's a whole nother.
Yeah.
They know how to work it.
That don't even make
But the
sense.
one thing, you can't, so it does kind of negate you, because the moment you start making significant money, guess what, your check is gonna be
People,
cut.
I can see where you come
Or
from.
you're gonna lose this benefit. So there are arguments on
I got
both
people-
sides.
I got
But
people in my
he's
family like
overall
that.
making
I
the
can see
argument
that.
that the
But that's
correlation
stupid.
that most people think
Dumb
black
shit.
political leadership is gonna lead to black success, he said, it ain't happening.
Right.
It's a little side segue, like, there was a news story, about this mother in Philadelphia. She got arrested, a while ago, like last week. She threw her son a $25,000 prom with the Dubai thing. Come to
Yes.
find out she was abusing the system.
She was
So
getting
the feds
social
came-
security
yeah, so-
checks.
Yeah, the feds came and like took her away. So it
Well,
was
what,
$25,000 prom.
You know, when you go off on prom, he had horse carriages, rappers, he had food, he had everything you could think of, Dr. Adabanjo. And his mama was using the system. She was and she was still, y'all, I was so mad when I seen it, but she's still doing good for the community. She be doing like drives and stuff, she be giving back and stuff, but she give back and stuff, but still, she took $35,000 from the government by saying that she had a back disability.
An issue in this class that forces us to look inward, because the problem is not just external, there are internal. That doesn't negate one or the other, but that's not to negate what actually happens in terms of racism, but still, with racism, there is still a responsibility within the community.
My family was blown away because they're like, my family was from
Those
Philly,
things
so
do
they're-
happen.
Yeah, my family, so we actually associated with her, so to find this out, like, we supported her business, yeah, so to find this out and see it on the news, everybody's in the group chat like, oh my God, did you see what happened, da, 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 yeah, so we kind of felt kind of duped, because, you know, she's doing this.
But what is the, okay, so then it goes to,
That's what he's saying though.
what is the black community doing?
That's what he's saying.
That they are, it's like, we're quick to point out that white man is taking advantage of us. We're quick to point out that our white leaders are taking advantage of us. What are we doing to the black people that's in our community that's taking advantage of us?
But she
Are
give
we-
back though.
That was the thing,
She has put a lot of money back into her community. I promise you she has.
Open businesses, charities, etc.
She has done a lot.
She covered herself up, this whole thing, and then to come to find out, she is in this huge.
And she
money
still got a
business.
booming business.
It was straight bull.
So it's basically the thought process is, that's like a drug dealer.
That's all I was just.
Oh, man.
It's like a drug dealer. It's like, it's cool that you giving drugs to our kids and our parents and stuff like that,
But
as
you
long
pay
as
them
you.
up.
But somebody go.
It goes
I don't
to
like
New Jack
that. I don't
City.
like
But you
that
just
because
said it was okay with
I don't
the
see
race,
the
though.
only thing. Oh, okay. The only thing that I don't like about the New Jack City thing